Okay, we're holding Nun Vav. Just to recap it a little bit, Nun Vavim and Aleph. The Mishnah says that if a person is Makadosh a woman, most Masasheni, right? The money Masasheni, where he's aware and she's aware, she's Mukadeshes. According to Rabbi Yehuda, why? Because Masasheni Momen Hedjut. So Mari had asked, it says that if a person goes and purchases a Behemoth Tmeya, clothing, not clothing, a piece of property, slaves, it's not a valid purchase, correct? So what do you do? So it says the buyer, the one who actually purchased them, he has to take the equivalent of the money. So the money that was used to purchase these various items retained the Kedushas Masasheni because it wasn't transferred. You could only transfer it onto an item that you're permitted to purchase, correct? So the money is most Masasheni. So the mocha, the seller, is what? He actually possesses money, which is Masasheni money. And the man is Mamoretz. So the buyer, he has to take other money, and he has to transfer the Kedusha of the money that the seller has onto the money that he has. Right? Since what he purchased was not a valid purchase, because most Masasheni could only be bought used for something that you directly are able for consumption. So what he purchased, the non-kosher species, the slave and the property, which it was a misappropriation of money, the Kedusha didn't go off that money. So what happens now? The seller, he has the money. What is he going to do with the money? He's going to use the money in a context he's not permitted to use it. So the buyer has to take the equivalent of that money, transfer the Kedusha of that money onto the money he has, take that money and go to Yerushalayim. That's what the Mishnah says. Even though he's there, it doesn't make a difference. Okay? So the question is, our Mishnah, when he goes and he marries the woman, and she has the money, we should say to the husband, you have to take the equivalent of that money, transfer the Kedush, because let's be, just as we're concerned that seller may use the money outside Yerushalayim, which is a violation, the woman, she received the money in marriage, she may use the money outside Yerushalayim, she won't take the money to Yerushalayim. Why do we differentiate between the seller of the non-kosher animal and the wife and the woman who receives the money for Kedusha? We're concerned about the seller, we're not concerned about the woman. Right? Misappropriation of the money. And the Gemara says, the Yoda, we're speaking about a specific type of woman. She's an Isha Chavera, she's a learned woman, and because she's fully proficient in the laws of Masasheni, we're not concerned she's going to do the wrong thing with the money. But let's say it would be an ordinary woman. It would be like the seller who sells the non-kosher species or the property or the slave. That the husband there would have to take the equivalent amount of money, transfer the Kedusha of the money that he'd given the woman for marriage, and take that money and go to Yerushalayim. We would treat that case exactly like this case. You know, it's interesting. It's interesting. It's interesting. It's interesting. The Gemara says earlier, I mean, it makes it a little difficult, because the Gemara says earlier, it says, Rabbi Yehuda says that if you Makadosh most Ma'aser Sheni, Rabbi Yehuda holds Ma'aser Sheni Momen Hedjut. It's not Momen Gavos, it's like your asset. So it says, B'shogig Einu Mukudeshes, B'mezid Mukudeshes. Mishnah. Why? Because if she would know that she's burdened, that it complicates her life, she has to take the money to Yerushalayim, she wouldn't have won it. Right? She wouldn't have won it. But Mezid, where she's aware, so she's aware what she's receiving. But we're saying now, just the opposite. But if we're saying, if she's an ordinary woman, if we're saying she's an ordinary woman, B'shogeg, she would take it. She should be Mukudeshes. Because the burden's on the husband. If she receives that kind of money, who has the headache of going to Yerushalayim? Right? It's not the woman, it's his headache. He has to go and what? He has to take money and transfer off. So the money she receives, it's fully functional money. Right? But yet we said, because if she would have known, she wouldn't want to be burdened with it. She's not burdened with it. Right? No, she'll have the right to do whatever she wants with the money afterwards. Because was. No, I know. We're limiting the case, the mission, to a very specific case. Right? I'm saying, why don't we speak about a regular woman and say, B'shogeg Mukudeshes, B'mezid Einu Mukudeshes. Right? It should be both. Okay, it's a little complicated.
If it's related, then you know she doesn't mind going to Israel. But if it would be b'shogeg,
She's not going to violate the halacha. B'shogeg same b'gudeshes because she's not aware.
She's not aware. If she would have been aware,
She wouldn't want it.
The woman wouldn't want to go.
Right?
If she's related,
No.
She, by taking it,
A chaveiro,
by taking
she wouldn't want. She b'shogeg.
it.
No, see, she's aware. So with all the complications, she's agreeable to take it. That's easy. Then I'm saying we could say let the Mishnah speak about an ordinary woman, and the b'shogeg, since the husband has the obligation to watch the day. Well, let's see, b'mezid, both. B'mezid. Omamar, I just want to go through this. Im lokach yochel kinegdon. Now we're asking a question. It says, if you purchased, it says, he has to eat kinegdon. He has to take the equivalent amount of money, and he transfers the kedusha onto his money. V'amai yasdom l'mekomon. We quoted a Mishnah at the beginning that a person purchases something with masasheni b'shogeg. What's the halacha? We say you have to return the money. It's a mekartos. So over here, amai yazu dom l'mekomon. Yep. Kiyosam. Let it be mekartos. What do you have to take the equivalent amount of money? Let it be mekartos. Since there's a concern the money may be used, we say the purchaser has to take the equivalent of the money and he has to transfer it onto his money. Let us say the whole thing's a mekartos. Omar Shmuel kishaborach. We're speaking where the seller, he fled. So what? He fled. So therefore he's not returning the money. It is a mekartos. It is a mekartos. So if it's a mekartos, no, the money, no. It belongs to the buyer. To the buyer. It's a mekartos. So it belongs to the buyer, so let him return the money. What does the buyer have taken a separate set of money and transfer the kedusha off that? Let the seller return his money. Gemara says he fled. He fled with the money. So the Gemara says, "V'tami de borach, holo borach, kantzid lamocher." But if he wouldn't have fled, we'd say to the seller, "You have to give the money back," right? So Gemara says, "V'nik to say lokeach." What are we penalizing the seller? Right? We're going back to the case. The Gemara had said, what review that said that lokach b'shogeg give the money back, but if it was lokach b'mezid, it's only if what? If it was bought. If you purchased an animal for a shlomi. But if you purchase another animal, right, then we don't differentiate whether shogeg mezid, it's yachzu dom l'mekomon. That's where we're going on. If a person goes and purchases a regular animal or a regular item, then we say the money has to be given back. So over here, why don't we say the money has to be given back? It says because he fled. But it says if he wouldn't have fled, we would force him to give the money even if it was done deliberately. It's a knas. Right? It's a knas. So the question is, niklasei lokeach. Why are we penalizing the seller? Let's penalize the buyer. Meaning, on the Torah level, the transfer took place because he was aware what's going on. The money transferred onto the item he bought. Right? Amazing. Deliberately, he knew it. V'niksei lokeach. So Gemara says, laf achbar oganov eluchur oganov. Now, who's the thief? When a mouse steals, if it didn't have a hole to hide, to put what it steals, would it steal? So what initiated the theft? The hole, not the mouse. Even though the mouse is the thief, but meaning like this, if you have a thief and you have a fence, the person fences the stolen goods. If he wouldn't have what to do with it, he doesn't steal. He's only stealing because the seller, we're blaming the seller. We're blaming the seller.
But he has to have someone to sell it to.
The seller encourages the purchase because he wants to sell.
Correct.
So even though the buyer is the one doing the wrong thing, but he's doing the wrong thing because the seller is willing to sell, he's encouraging the sale. So therefore we penalize the seller.
Right.
What? We're talking, they're both amazing. We're speaking amazing, right? V'niksei lokeach. What? They both makes it, right? The buyer goes and says, I want to buy whatever it is, an item, outside Yerushalayim. And it's not a korban. It's not, you're not where you're buying a shlomim. You buy a shlom, person will take the shlom to Yerushalayim. But anything outside of a shlom, of korban, we penalize them, we say the sale's not a sale, right? And you have to, right, you have to give the money back. So why are we penalizing the seller if on a Torah level the sale is a valid sale because they're both where it's happening, right? Let's penalize the buyer. So we say, who's the one who do we blame? We blame the seller, we don't blame the buyer. It's like the mouse in the hole. If there wouldn't have been a hole, the mouse wouldn't steal. So why is the buyer buying, using his masasheni to purchase this? Because the seller is encouraging it. So therefore we penalize the seller. So we said because the seller fled, that's the reason why we say the buyer has to take the amount. Vilo achbar churo, my kovid. But factually, mistavro kol hechdik yisura hosam kansina. So Gemara says, but factually, if there wouldn't be a mouse, the whole also has no value. I mean, why are we putting the blame on one more than the other? I mean, they're both culpable. On that he says, factually, we say whoever has the original money, which is most shiny, that's the one we penalize. So if the seller is here, we say give back the money. If he's not here, then we penalize the buyer. Okay, let's start the next Mishnah. Okay, getting into things which are much easier. Now we know the halacha is, we have different classifications of things which are not permitted. You have Isur Achila, right? And then you have Isur Hano. Isur Achila is something non-kosher meat. Although you're not permitted to eat it, but in terms of ownership-wise, you can have financial ownership in something that's not kosher. Something which is Isur Hano, Chometz B'Pesach. Torah says you're not permitted to benefit from it. So if a person would take Chometz B'Pesach, which you could sell to a non-Jew on the open market for unlimited amount of money, you Makadosh an Isha, she's not married. Because you gave her nothing, and she received nothing. In terms of ownership-wise, you have to give something that you own, and she has to receive something you own. Since Isur Hano is something you're not permitted to benefit, you have no ownership rights in the item, so you can't transfer anything, and she's not receiving, because she, being a Jew, she can't acquire something which she's not permitted to benefit from. We discussed this earlier. She's a cholashesh b'sakona. Remember? She's deathly ill, and she needs a fruit to live. So Torah permits it, and you give her orla for kiddushin. So we spoke, it's machalok rishonim, whether she's mukadeshes or not. Does he have to give something of hers, or does he have to provide something that she could acquire? Although it's not his. That's enough. He's facilitating her to acquire something which he's permitted to acquire. It's a separate discussion. But here we're talking about two healthy people. She's not permitted to benefit, he's not permitted to feel. And he gives her that item, and mukadeshes. So what are examples of this? Hamakadish ba'orlo, the first 3 yields of a fruit tree. You're not permitted to benefit from it. Kloya kerem, you plant a wheat field next to a vineyard. Right? There's nothing separating. The vineyard you're not permitted to benefit, the fruits of the vineyard, and the wheat you're not permitted to benefit from. B'shor nisko, you had an animal that gored and killed a person, the animal has to be stoned, has to be put to death. It's Isur Hano. Even though, if you say you stone it, it's nevela, but based on psukim, Torah says you're not permitted even to benefit from it. From the dead animal. Well, the Gemara is going to say, there's a pasuk says, what happens if a person goes and there's a psa? No, Shor and Nisko could be either the live animal, it could be the dead animal. The meat. He took the meat of the Shor and Nisko, was Makadosh and Isha. And Mukadeshes, because it's Shor Hano, she's not permitted, nobody's permitted to benefit from it. Egla Rufa. Right? You took the eagle, that's where you find a corpse outside of the city. So for the sake of Tommy, you take the animal, this calf, and you break its neck. Right? B'tzipore mitzora. The birds that are brought for the mitzora. There's one you kill, the other one you send out into the wild. These birds are Isur Hano. Sar Nozir, right? The Nazir, he grows his hair for 30 days, then he cuts his hair for 30 days, then he burns it under the pot in the sanctuary. The pot that cooks the shlomim, that here you're not permitted to benefit from. Sar Nazir. Petach Hamor. Petach Hamor, Torah says either it's tifta b'seh, either you redeem it, or varafto, you break its neck. But factually, the Petach Hamor, until you do the redemption, it's Yisur Hano, you're not permitted to benefit from it. Bosa b'cholov, right? You cook milk and meat, Isur Anu. Chulin shnishku b'azora, a non-consecrated animal that was slaughtered in the Azora, in the sanctuary, it's Isur Anu, Ein Mukadeshes. Because all these are examples of what? Of Isur Anu. Okay? What about Mochran v'Kiddush b'Dmein? Let's say he would sell to a goy. And now he has the proceeds of the item. Let's say a person has shvius. You sell shvius. So we say that the kedusha of the shvius transfers onto the money. Not only does it transfer, it remains on the produce of shvius. In addition, it goes on to the what? Goes on to the money. So the money has kedusha shvius. So therefore, over there, regardless of what you do, you're not accomplishing anything. The money is kedusha shvius. You'd say you're not permitted to benefit from any of these items. So maybe the proceeds you receive for them, maybe also they assume a status of Yisur Anod. The answer is they don't. You sell Avodah Zorah, the money of Avodah Zorah assumes the identical status as the Avodah Zorah. That's called you're benefiting from the Avodah Zorah. You're not permitted to benefit from the proceeds of the Avodah Zorah. But these items, it's not Tofeses Domeo. The money doesn't assume the status of the item that you're not permitted to benefit from. Therefore, if you marry the woman with it, she's Mukadeshes. Yeah. Mochran v'Kiddush b'Dayan, Mukadeshes. Every one of these examples.
So you sell any one of these.
He did the wrong thing. He did the wrong thing. Sold it to a goy. Did it, but again, he just went through the motions. He shouldn't. He doesn't have any interest in it. He had no right to take the money. Faction, the goy is willing to give his money for this for Bas B'Cholov. Right? You make him a McDonald's burger, right? Kosher meat. The goy couldn't care less whether you have an interest or not. He doesn't want to be a thief. Is he stealing? Is he purchasing something stolen? No. I'm willing to pay for it. So the money belongs to the Jew. But it's an exchange for something you couldn't benefit from. The Mishnah said it's not a problem. It's an exchange. But it's interesting, there's a Mati Yonason, which is written by Rabbi Yonason Eibshitz in Hilchos Bas B'Cholov. All dog food is Bas B'Cholov. Did you know that? Today there's a larger section in supermarkets of dog food than baby food. Right? Yeah. Right, exactly. Cats are inching up on the dogs. Okay, so if it's Bas B'Cholov, how do you feed your dog dog food? Right? You're not permitted to benefit Bas B'Cholov. Person goes, takes a bag of dog food and says to his wife, Arei Mukadeshesly. Right? Bas B'Cholov. Is she Mukadeshes or not? If she's not Mukadeshes, then what, factually, you can't own a dog if you feed him dog food. So there's famous, so it's based on the Rambam. The Rambam, he says, based on the Rambam says the halacha Bas B'Cholov is not only if it's Bas Shchuta, it's kosher meat. But if it's Bas in the Velo, if it's not kosher meat, the prohibition of Bas B'Cholov doesn't apply to it. The Issa Hano is only kosher meat. If it's Bas in the Velo, it's not Bas B'Cholov. Because Ein Issa Chalal Issa. Because one Issa cannot come upon the other. That's the position of the Rambam. So that's what we rely on. We rely on that. It's not simple. But because the meat that's used in dog food is not kosher meat, therefore, of course, it's Isar Achilo, because it's not kosher meat, but Bas B'Cholov it's not. Okay, that's the heter. But the Bas B'Cholov here we're speaking about is bona fide. So it's interesting. Somebody, if not from Marasayan, you have a coworker, a goy, and he says, pick me up a McDonald's burger. And it's not a question of Marasayan. Let's say, not Marasayan. Is it, it's Yisur no? You're doing that through that, you're benefiting, right? You're doing him a favor. Or he says, I'll buy you a cheeseburger and I'll give it to you. I'll pick up the tab, right? I'll pay for it, I'll give you the cheeseburger. Is he benefiting Yisur no? He's not benefiting. It's not Yisur no because the meat they use in the burger is not kosher meat. So it's the same heter you rely on the dog food. It's the exact same thing, the cheeseburger. It's not Bas B'Cholov. There's enough Hebrew national, they need the regular meat. Okay? Okay. Rove, the majority of meat is not kosher meat. It's not shchuta, right? Majority of meat, it's killed. Even if they would have shechted, it may have been, let's say, non-glut, but most meat in the United States is not shchuta. Okay? Not a question. No, but dog food is basar b'cholov. Since Yisur no, the answer is according to the Rambam, it's not Yisur no, because ain't Yischal Yisur. Okay, that's the answer. So we're talking the Mishnah, Mekarish basar b'cholov, it's bona fide basar b'cholov, it's Yisur no, ain't Mukadeshes. Okay?
Can you marry somebody with letting them do a mitzvah? So the mitzvah is the benefit to the woman. In other words, let's say you have to cut off the head of the egg or something.
Break its neck.
Break its neck. What if you have the woman and you marry easy with the break the neck and marry with that mitzvah?
So what do you mean? What do you mean?
Maybe it's something.
What do you mean you own it? What do you mean? It's a mitzvah. What does that have to do with you?
If you own something and you have.
What do you mean you own it? What do you mean you own it? You don't.
Say not able to say something else.
Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about something else. Mar says a chulin that if the Torah says v'shochat v'kiso, whoever does shechita on the bird or on the undomesticated animal, it's his mitzvah to cover the blood. Let's say I do the shechita and somebody else goes and steals the mitzvah from me. He covers the blood from me, takes the mitzvah away from me. So rabbinically he's penalized. It's called he has to pay asar azuvim, 10 gold coins. Wait a second. Wait, I want to discuss your question before we get to the wife. Okay? So it says rabbinically you have to pay 10 gold coins for stealing the mitzvah. For stealing the mitzvah. So there is a question, what about birchas hamazon? How many brachos do they have in mention? You have 4 brachos. Says the mechabed, one person, the other person he says, Rabbi Sayin Levorech. He steals the zimun. Does he have to pay 4 times 10? Or he just pays once? 10 zuvim for the whole benching? You know? Or he has to pay for each bracha, he has to pay 10. Discussion. Okay? Person, you know something? Harei mukadeshesli, even though the woman can't bench, unless he's in another kind of minion. Okay? I'll let you bench. I'll let you do the kisei adam. If somebody would steal the kisei adam from me, he has to pay 10 zuvim. Harei mukadeshesli, I'll give you my mitzvah of kisei adam. Is she mukadeshes? No. Right, it's a penalty. You don't own it. There's a mitzvah to mechas adam. I have priority on it, right? But I'm not giving you anything. It's like ma'aseh sheni mama gavoa, right? You have a right, right? I have the right to eat it. But what about but monetarily? I have no monetary interest in that. So if you mekadosh ma'aseh sheni mukadeshes, she's not married, okay? So Tosei has an interesting question. The Gemara says in Psochim that when we see something, even Osab no, it's only derech hanosan. It's only if you benefit in the normal way, the conventional way of benefiting. Mar says over there, let's say a person takes the chaylev of a shara nisko, the fat, raw fat, and he goes and puts it on a wound, and it relieves the pain of the wound, right? Are you in violation of benefiting from Yisur no? Mar says you're not in violation. Rabbinically, you're not supposed to do it, but on Torah level, you're not in violation. Why? Because that is one benefit from chaylev. Chaylev for consumption, or maybe waxing hides with it. That's conventional usage. But to relieve the pain of a wound, that's not the way you benefit from chaylev sharanisko, from chaylev. So therefore, on Torah level, it's permitted. Because that's called shloka derech hanosan. So Tosei has a question. Orlo, you're not permitted to benefit from, or basachol, that's only derech hanosan. Only the conventional way. But shloka derech hanosan, you can benefit. So why, when he gives an orlo, why she ate kudeshes, even though conventionally she's not, it has no value, but let's say she would benefit shloka derech hanosan, right? It would be permitted, right? So if that's the case, it's possible to have an intrinsic ownership to benefit from it shloka derech hanosan. So why she ate kudeshes? That's Tos's question. Same thing. He has the same thing. His rights. He has ownership rights. Shloka derech hanosan. He's transferring those rights to her. So what does the Mishnah say by Orlein Mukudeshe? So by the other cases, if it's shloka derech hanosan in the unconventional way, you're permitted to benefit. So that the Torah does give him rights. He has ownership rights. So those rights he's transferring to the woman. She should be Mukudeshes. That's Tos's question. So Tos answers 2 answers. One answer is he gave her a small amount, and the shloka derech hanosan is pochs mishave pruta. Right? We're not talking about the guy's a cheapskate. You understand? It's bad enough he's using arlo, but he gives her the smallest amount. It's a shava pruta of arlo, which conventionally it's a shava pruta. So unconventionally, what is it worth? It's worth less than a shava pruta. But if you would have given her a larger amount, she'd be Mukudeshes. Because she's giving her Sheva Pruta. That's one. The other answer is, when she's receiving it, she thinks she's receiving something of market value. Market value, a pound of fruit is worth so much. Now she realizes she's getting much less. It's like a mektos. I thought I was getting more. I'm getting less. That's the reason I'm Mukudeshes. But factually, if she'd be aware, he says, I'm giving you something conventionally you're not permitted to benefit. Unconventionally, you can benefit. And she agrees to take it. She's Mukudeshes. That's Tosis. It depends what her mindset is. If she's aware, she's Mukudeshes. She's unaware, she's any Mukudeshes. We had earlier not that way. But she's still not a fool. The Gemara says before. She says, I'm going to give you 100. And she shortchanged. Give her 99. She's any Mukudeshes. As much as she wants to get married. The same thing. You give me more, and then I realize it's less. I'm not agreeable to be married to you. Okay? Samar asks, Ba'orla min Olan. How do we know Orla is Isur Hano? That you're not permitted to benefit from Orla. The Tanya, Arelim lo ye ochel. Arelim means it's kept away from you. Lo ye ochel. Ein li elo Isur achilo. So lo yochel means you're not permitted to eat. That's consumption. Hano minayin. How do you know you're not permitted to benefit? Shlo yenim imenu. And what does Hano mean? You can't benefit. Lo yitzba bo, lo yadlik bo es haner. So Tosa discusses this. Now, the Gemara has a question whether chazusa milsa, chazusa ain't a milsa. When you color something, is that considered something substance, if it's only a color? Maybe benefit means you have to benefit from the actual item itself. But let's use the fruit to color something. Right? Chazusa lav milsa doesn't make a difference. You're not permitted. What about, the Gemara has a discussion, we discussed earlier, a number, maybe about 2 weeks ago. There's a Mishnah. We'll get back to it tomorrow. I just want to finish it off now. There's a discussion. There's a Mishnah in Tamur. It says that, let's say chometz bepesach, according to Rabbi Yehuda, that it's supposed to be sreifot, you must burn it. You're permitted to benefit from the ash because it's not some mitzvah. That once the mitzvah has been expended, what remains, the ash is permitted to benefit from. So let's say you have oil of orla. So maybe it would be the same idea. The mitzvah is to burn orla. So as the flame is burning, what's the flame coming from? From consumed fuel. So maybe you should be able to benefit from it. So that's the difference. That's the difference. We'll continue tomorrow. Kaddish.